When a royal birth becomes a constitutional crisis, you know we're way past palace intrigue and well into full-blown historic scandal. And this one? This one is explosive. A woman identified only as DL has come forward, claiming to be the actual birth mother of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's two children, Archie and Lilibet. Not a surrogate mentioned in passing, not a fringe conspiracy theory. A woman with hospital records, legal contracts, private messages, and a story that's now threatening to unravel the Sussexes' entire carefully curated narrative. It's not just about secrets and betrayals anymore. If this claim turns out to be true, we're looking at questions of royal legitimacy, legal deception, and possibly the most shocking cover-up in modern monarchy history. Meghan's silence is deafening. Harry is reportedly cracking under the pressure. And DL? She says she's just getting started. If you stood still watching, you clearly have thoughts. Drop sitpane below and hit subscribe for more no BS breakdowns. Let's unpack the receipts, the fallout, and what this could mean for the future of the royal family. It all started with one claim, DL, a woman whose identity remains partially protected for legal reasons, stepped into the public eye and declared that she carried both of Harry and Meghan's children via surrogacy. According to her, she entered into a legally binding agreement with the couple with promises of compensation, privacy, and long-term discretion. But what she got instead? Silence, erasure, and legal threats. She alleges that after the birth of Lilibet, her communications with the Sussex camp abruptly ended. Her hospital records were sealed. Her connection to the children was erased. And Meghan? She took center stage as the mother, with not a word mentioned publicly about the surrogacy. DL's bombshell. She says she has proof, documentation, emails, birth-related forms, and most chilling of all, hospital files that directly contradict the official royal story. One of the key pieces DL points to is the unusual detail on Archie Sipp's birth certificate. Instead of listing Rachel Meghan Markle, Meghan Sipp's legal name, the certificate was reportedly changed after the fact to simply state Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Now that might seem like a minor royal formalism, but in the context of surrogacy, it raises eyebrows and legal red flags. DL's team argues that this move could have been a calculated legal maneuver to obscure Meghan's physical detachment from the birth. In other words, a way to mask the fact that she didn't give birth to Archie, despite the public believing otherwise. And that's where things get messy, because in the eyes of royal law, heirs to the throne must be born of the body, not adopted, not legally assigned, physically born to the mother. If these allegations are true, they don't just undermine Meghan and Harry's personal credibility. They could call into question the constitutional legitimacy of the children's royal titles and their place in the line of succession. As expected, Meghan and Harry's legal team have slammed the brakes. Gag orders, cease and desists, behind-the-scenes pressure to suppress the documents. But here's the thing, DL isn't backing down. She's reportedly preparing to release even more evidence and has gone on record saying she is open to independent DNA testing. That alone has sent shockwaves through both legal and royal circles. Because now it's no longer just a story, it's a challenge, one the Sussexes have yet to answer. And Meghan, the woman who usually commands interviews, launches content, and speaks freely on everything from mental health to media abuse, has gone completely dark. No statements, no denials, no public response whatsoever. Which frankly only makes the situation look worse. Behind the scenes, this scandal is reportedly wreaking havoc on the Sussexes' post-royal empire. Partnerships with Netflix, Spotify, lifestyle brands, all of it hinges on their image, modern, progressive, and authentic. But if the world finds out that the most intimate part of their lives, their children's births, was staged or obscured, that authenticity shatters. Already, insiders say brands are pulling back. negotiations are stalling, executives are worried. Meghan's carefully built image as a feminist mother and icon of resilience is being replaced in the public eye by something colder, strategic deception. And Harry? According to multiple reports, he's unraveling. Friends say he's anxious, withdrawn, and consumed by the legal stress. He's reportedly at odds with longtime allies over how to handle the growing media swarm. It's a far cry from the composed, self-assured figure who once walked away from the palace to start a new life. Back in the UK, the palace is reportedly in panic mode. No press releases, of course, they learned their lesson with Diana, but make no mistake, they're watching this story closely. Royal advisors and legal historians are quietly combing through centuries-old succession law, specifically the rules that define what it means to be born of the body. Because if D.L. Sepp's claims gain traction, the monarchy has a very real dilemma. What happens if heirs to the throne, however far down the line, were not born to a royal womb? Tradition says that's not allowed. The law might say it's invalid. And public opinion. That might be the harshest judge of all. If you thought British tabloids were vicious, just wait until you see what's happening internationally. European outlets, especially in countries with looser defamation protections, are going full throttle. Investigative reporters are digging into medical databases, security logs, financial records. Some networks are already planning full-length exposés. And DL? She's being courted by major platforms to tell her full story. This isn't just a UK media cycle anymore, it's global, and it's growing faster than Meghan and Harry's PR team can contain. Let's not forget who's at the center of this: two children born into global scrutiny and now swept up in a scandal they had no part in. If DL is telling the truth, then Archie and Lilibet are growing up under a false narrative. If she's not, they're still caught in a media firestorm being fueled by conflicting adult agendas. Either way, their future is being shaped by decisions and secrets far beyond their control. And as the world waits to see how this plays out, one question remains: when they grow up and ask what really happened, what answers will they get? This isn't just another tabloid moment. This is a potentially constitutional scandal with emotional, legal, and historical weight. It cuts to the heart of what the monarchy stands for and how much the public is willing to tolerate before trust disappears for good. Meghan and Harry's silence may buy them time, but it won't buy them truth, because DL isn't going away. The press isn't slowing down. And public opinion? It's shifting by the minute. The sheer scale of what's happening here can't be overstated. We're talking about a royal birth scandal that could rewrite not only Meghan and Harry's public legacy, but potentially rewrite centuries-old royal protocol. And the most chilling part? No one knows where the truth ends and the PR spin begins. Let's just pause and consider what it means if any of this is real. If DL's claims hold up in court, or worse, in the court of public opinion, it changes everything we thought we knew about the Sussexes. It's not just about bending the truth, it's about knowingly constructing an entire family image and selling it to the public, the press, and powerful business partners on the back of a lie. From a brand standpoint, it's reputation suicide. Meghan and Harry built their post-royal identity around emotional honesty, vulnerability, and transparency. Their Oprah interview was packaged as raw truth. Their Netflix documentary was sold as an inside look at their unfiltered world. Their podcast episodes were framed as them finding their voice. But if this turns out to be a facade, if even their children's births were stage-managed narratives instead of facts, then what's left of their brand? Where do they go from there? Public sympathy has a shelf life, and in Meghan and Harry's case, it's already been tested more than once. First, it was the feud with the palace. Then it was the bombshell interviews. Then came the mixed reviews of their content deals. And now, the mother of all plot twists, Did Meghan even give birth to the children she claimed as her own? This isn't about whether surrogacy is wrong. Of course it's not. What this is about is deception. If Meghan and Harry had gone public and proudly acknowledged they chose surrogacy, it would have been groundbreaking. Revolutionary even. They could have opened up a long overdue conversation about modern parenthood, privacy, and choice. But the moment they allegedly chose secrecy and worse suppression, it all turned into something darker. Even now, as DL prepares to release more documents and go fully public, Meghan's team remains tight-lipped. But silence isn't neutrality. In the world of PR, silence is strategy, and in this case, it's a strategy that might be costing them everything. There's something particularly ominous about the way Harry has disappeared from the public eye during all this. A man who was once cheerful, cheeky, and resilient now looks exhausted, strained, and far removed from the charismatic royal he used to be. According to reports, friends are growing concerned about his well-being, noting that the legal tension, media backlash, and internal pressure from both sides of the Atlantic are starting to take a visible toll. This isn't just bad press, it's psychological warfare. And Harry, who's already had a complex relationship with the media since his childhood, may not be equipped to handle this level of sustained scrutiny, especially not if he knows there's even a grain of truth behind DL's story. And let's talk about the palace. No official word, no statements, not even a softly worded "we are monitoring the situation." But don't mistake that for indifference. You better believe the royal advisors are deep in war room meetings, sifting through every piece of this mess, preparing for the potential fallout. Because if it comes to light that two individuals in the royal line were not born through the appropriate channels, under royal law, that could trigger a constitutional debate no one was prepared to have. That phrase, "born of the body," suddenly matters more than anyone could have imagined. And while Meghan and Harry may have opted out of active royal duties, their children are still entitled to certain titles and statuses, or at least they were. DL's willingness to take a DNA test adds an entirely new layer of urgency. Because if that happens, and if it confirms her claims, the fallout will be biblical. We're talking legacy lawsuits, title removals, an overhaul of how royal birth announcements are handled, and a full-on credibility crisis for the couple who tried to rebrand royalty in their image. It also invites questions about who else knew. Were there staff members who helped manage the surrogacy behind the scenes? Were legal teams involved in ensuring DL's name never appeared in official records? Was there a deliberate effort within the Sussex camp to rewrite a very personal history in order to preserve public perception? The more you follow this trail, the more you realize how deep it might go. And what about the media complicity? It's not lost on anyone that major outlets, especially in the US, have been suspiciously quiet about these claims. A few whispers here, a few anonymous sources there, but no mainstream coverage on the level that would match the seriousness of the allegation. It begs the question, how much of that is about libel risk, and how much is about powerful people trying to control a narrative they can no longer contain? The British press, while more aggressive, has also been careful not to say the quiet part out loud. But the clock is ticking. If DL comes forward with undeniable evidence, and by all indications she's planning to, every media outlet that stayed silent is going to have to answer for it. This story has all the ingredients of a modern tragedy. A couple who fled the palace to protect their privacy, only to become prisoners of their own myth. A woman allegedly used, silenced, and now fighting to reclaim her voice. Two children born into a global spectacle, their identities now weaponized in a scandal neither of them asked for, and a royal institution holding its breath, terrified of what happens next. In the end, the real question isn't whether Meghan gave birth. It's whether the truth still matters in a world built on curated personas, controlled optics, and manufactured authenticity. The public no longer wants perfection, they want honesty. And right now the Sussexes are giving them neither. There's still a chance to course correct, but that window is closing fast. If Meghan and Harry want to preserve even a shred of credibility, they need to come forward with clarity, not carefully worded denials, not third-party statements, not another glossy documentary with soft lighting and vague metaphors, just the truth. And if DL's story turns out to be a fabrication, then transparency will prove it. But if they keep hiding, stalling, and threatening legal action, the silence will become its own confirmation, and the public, already skeptical, will fill in the blanks themselves. What we're watching now isn't just a royal scandal, it's a battle for control over reality itself, one side armed with documents and determination, the other with lawyers and legacy. And in the middle of it all, the world is watching. There's something almost poetic about how this whole saga is playing out. Meghan and Harry left the monarchy in pursuit of truth, freedom, and peace. And now they find themselves back under the same kind of scrutiny they said drove them away. But this time, it's not the institution putting them under pressure, it's the public. And the public doesn't forget. Because at the heart of this scandal isn't just one woman's shocking claim, it's the unraveling of a very specific promise. Meghan and Harry asked the world to trust them, to believe in their love story, to rally behind them as they stepped away from royal life and redefined it on their own terms. And for a while, people did. They believed when Meghan cried in interviews. They believed when Harry said he was protecting his family from generational trauma. They believed the image two parents, building a new life, raising their kids away from the toxicity of palace protocol. But now, that image is cracked, and people are starting to look more closely at the fine print. What exactly did the Sussexes promise? Transparency, honesty, vulnerability. They wanted to be relatable. They wanted to be real. But reality doesn't include hidden contracts, secret medical records, and a potential surrogate mother being erased from the picture. If DL's allegations are even halfway accurate, then Meghan and Harry didn't just bend the truth, they rebranded it, they monetized it. And the cost of that, ironically, is the very authenticity they worked so hard to sell. This situation also raises serious ethical questions, because if DL was indeed cut off, ignored, or threatened after fulfilling a surrogacy agreement, what does that say about the power dynamics at play? A royal adjacent couple, wealthy, connected, legally armed, versus a single woman who carried 2 children and now finds herself ghosted and gaslit. This isn't just about royal drama anymore. It's about how people with power handle the people who help them behind the scenes. And if Meghan and Harry were willing to silence someone who played a vital role in their family's creation, what else are they capable of hiding? It also doesn't help that Meghan's entire public persona is built on empowerment, women's rights, maternal health, female agency. How do you reconcile that with a potential story of another woman being denied recognition for carrying her children? The silence becomes deafening, and the hypocrisy becomes blinding. At this point, the Sussexes are running out of options. The media wave is coming, whether they're ready or not. DL's legal team is reportedly preparing to escalate, potentially involving international law if attempts to suppress the evidence continue. And the public, they're tired of waiting. In the world of modern celebrity, perception is everything. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be consistent. And Meghan and Harry's story has become riddled with contradictions. They fled the UK to escape press intrusion, but gave exclusive access to Netflix. They asked for privacy, but published a memoir with intimate family secrets. They claimed honesty as their brand, but now face accusations of hiding the most fundamental truth of all, how their family began. And now, as DL prepares to go fully public, the most likely outcome is total narrative collapse. There's no version of this story that ends with everything was fine all along. The best case scenario at this point is damage control. The worst case, historical scandal. Imagine for a moment what happens if the monarchy is forced to address this. If Parliament is asked to debate the legal legitimacy of royal children born via undisclosed surrogacy. If British citizens begin to question the laws that govern succession and titles, it might sound dramatic, but this is a constitutional monarchy. Bloodline matters, birth matters. And if those concepts are revealed to have been falsified or manipulated for PR purposes, it won't just hurt Meghan and Harry's image, it will haunt their children. It will call into question everything from Archie's and Lilibate's titles to their place in royal history. Already, there's chatter in certain legal corners about how to retroactively apply or interpret the rules. Could the children keep their titles if the surrogacy was proven? Would it require an act of Parliament? Would the royal family have to issue a statement distancing themselves from the Sussexes entirely? No one knows, because this has never happened before. And the very fact that we're even asking these questions shows how unprecedented this situation is. And then there's the moral component. Because even if this never touches royal law, it's already doing lasting damage to Meghan and Harry's moral standing. These were the people who told the world they were victims of a broken system, that they just wanted peace, that they were raising their kids in love, truth, and light. But the moment you use a woman to bear your children and then pretend she doesn't exist, you lose the moral high ground. You lose the benefit of the doubt. Meghan's silence in particular is starting to read not as dignity but as avoidance. And that's dangerous, because the longer she stays quiet, the more control she gives to DL, the media, the public imagination. She's letting other people write her story. And the version they're writing? It's not flattering. Even Meghan's most devoted fans are starting to shift. Online forums once filled with praise now have comment sections littered with skepticism. Supporters are asking hard questions. Why hasn't she said anything? Why was the birth certificate altered? Why is this woman risking everything to come forward if it's not true? And if the fans are questioning things, it's only a matter of time before the rest of the world does too. There's still a window for Meghan and Harry to take back control, to speak plainly, to own whatever truth is hiding behind the PR gloss. Even if that truth is uncomfortable, people respect accountability. People forgive, but only if you meet them halfway. If they continue to hide behind legal teams and media silence, the fallout will only get worse. DL isn't going away. The press isn't backing down, and once public trust breaks completely, it's almost impossible to rebuild. You don't get to ask for empathy while concealing the truth. You don't get to call yourself a voice for the voiceless while trying to silence the woman who brought your children into the world. At the end of the day, this isn't about tabloids. It's about two kids. A surrogate who says she was erased, and a couple who built an empire on being different from the royals, only to repeat the same playbook of secrecy and control. The world is watching, not just to see what happens next, but to see whether the people who once asked us to believe in their truth will finally live up to it. Because the truth, it always comes out, one way or another. As this scandal continues to swirl, one thing is becoming painfully clear: the walls are closing in. For years, Meghan and Harry controlled the narrative, carefully crafted statements, exclusive interviews, a docu-series where they got the final edit. But this is out of their hands. This isn't palace gossip or tabloid invention. This is a real woman with real documentation, real trauma, and real motivation to expose the truth. And she's not going away. DL's decision to come forward, despite the legal risks and public blowback, speaks volumes. Nobody signs up to go toe-to-toe with royal-adjacent figures unless they feel deeply wronged. This isn't just someone looking for attention. She's trying to reclaim her place in a story she helped write. And the longer Meghan and Harry pretend she doesn't exist, the louder her voice becomes. Let's talk about what it would actually take to disprove DL's claims. A simple denial won't cut it anymore. The public has been burned too many times by high-profile lies to take anyone's word for it. What people want now is evidence. They want timelines, receipts, photos, medical records that don't just confirm Meghan's name but her presence. They want clarity on the inconsistencies. Why was the birth certificate changed? Why was no photo of Meghan pregnant ever released that couldn't be dismissed as staged? Why does DL have what appear to be hospital forms with dates and names that don't line up with the official story? The silence from the Sussexes' side is increasingly suspicious. At a time when they should be out front, setting the record straight, they've disappeared behind a wall of lawyers and vague no comments. And if this is all false, if DL is simply fabricating the entire ordeal, why not just shut it down with real proof? Because so far, we haven't seen it. We've seen emotional footage of Meghan crying on camera, talking about how the palace failed her. We've heard Harry describe the trauma of losing his mother and wanting to protect his family at all costs. But we haven't seen a single piece of clear evidence confirming that Meghan gave birth to either child. No hospital footage. No indisputable pregnancy timeline. Nothing that couldn't have been controlled or manipulated behind the scenes. And for a couple that made their fortune selling intimacy, the absence of transparency here is deafening. It's worth remembering that the public was rooting for Meghan and Harry at one point. When they left the palace, there was a genuine desire to see them thrive. People were tired of the monarchy's cold detachment. Meghan brought a sense of freshness, modernity, and heart. She was poised to become a global icon, not because of who she married, but because of what she represented. Change, empowerment, the next chapter of royalty. But scandals like this don't just shake public perception, they fracture it. And when trust is broken on this level, no amount of media rehab can fix it. Right now, the Sussexes are in a PR freefall. Their brand, which was once built on "we escaped the toxic royal system," is being recast as "we built a new system that might be just as toxic." And for companies like Netflix or publishers like Penguin Random House, that's not a narrative you want your name attached to. Already there are whispers that deals are being re-evaluated, that Meghan's upcoming projects are being quietly shelved, that invitations to elite events have dried up. Because in the world of Hollywood and high society, perception is everything, and nobody wants to be next to the fire when the whole house goes up in smoke. Let's also not ignore how this could ripple into other royal relationships. Charles, William, Kate. The entire institution has done its best to maintain some distance from Harry and Meghan's media antics, but this scandal drags them all back in. Questions will be asked. Who knew what and when? Did the palace suspect the births weren't as they appeared? Was there a tacit agreement to ignore it for the sake of avoiding another PR nightmare? And what if the palace did know and chose to say nothing? That opens the door to a scandal far beyond the Sussexes. It invites scrutiny into how much deception the monarchy has been willing to tolerate, how much image matters more than truth. And for an institution already fighting to stay relevant in the 21st century, that kind of scrutiny is lethal. The situation with DL also raises massive ethical questions about the rights of surrogates. If Meghan and Harry really did use her services and then allegedly erased her existence, it sets a chilling precedent. It tells women that their role in the creation of a family can be bought, silenced, and then deleted. That their bodies can be borrowed, but their stories are disposable. It sits not just cold, it sits inhumane. Let us know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the scandals and stories everyone's talking about, but no one's ready to confront. We'll keep unpacking the drama so you don't have to. Stay tuned. This storm is far from over.